Okay, so we're ready to start. I suggest that before you put your beads out, to have like a piece of cloth, like an old shirt or fabric or something, like a piece of felt, so that when you put your beads down next to you for working, they don't roll all over the place. So let's take a look at the different color beads that we're gonna need. There's this dark green color, and then this light green color is this one, this more opaque, sort of looks like mung beans. And then this one has a little bit of gradation on it, so you know it's a metallic bead, so that's this metallic green. And then white, and then gold. So those are the 5 colors that you're gonna need for this design. Okay, first things first is I'm gonna tell you about what comes in here. So this comes with needles, quote unquote needles. So when you open it, it's just a flat piece of metal that's folded in half, and you're supposed to somehow use this to grab a bead. So I'm gonna grab a bead right now. First of all, it's really annoying to grab a bead with this needle because you have 2 pieces of wire. Let me just focus it. So because you have 2 pieces of wire that you're trying to thread a single hole through, so it's like really annoying to use this. But even worse is that this needle actually, the bead won't actually go through this needle. Like it's actually really hard to get the bead to go through this needle. See, it's stuck. So to actually do this project, and also if you're going to be making more bracelets in the future, I highly recommend that you just go to Michael's or any other craft store or fabric store and get beading needles. So these are the beading needles that I have. There are other brands, it doesn't matter which brand, but I recommend getting size 10 or size 11 or size 12 beading needles. Size 10 is pretty common size and it will work for this project. The higher the size number, the smaller the needle, but size 10 will be small enough to do this project. Now, when you get your beading needle, the reason why it's good to have a beading needle for this kind of job is because they have very tiny eyes, and that will let you pick up a bead and run it through no problem. So as you can see, it just goes through and I'm not struggling with it. So it's worth it to go out and get a size 10 beading needle for this project. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut about 3.5 to 4 feet of thread, and that's going to be about 100 to 120 centimeters. And then you're going to leave maybe this much of a tail, and you're going to tie a knot. And also you want to give a little bit of space in your loom. So I'll show you how to tie the knot. Just tie a simple overhand knot like this. Just a simple knot, like how you tie any knot. You just tie a knot like that. And put it somewhere there. So see how I left a little bit of a tail? So now I have a knot, and you're gonna take the other end of your thread where it's longer, and you're gonna put your needle through it. Or you're gonna put it through your needle, whichever is easier. It's a little tricky because the eye of a beading needle is so small. So the order that you're going to pick up your beads is going to be from left to right. So over here, you can see that it's gold, white, metallic green, gold, light green, white, and then it repeats in reverse. So you're gonna pick up in order from left to right. Now, before we start picking up beads, for any kind of loom work like this, it's very important to try to pick up beads that are of the same size. Now, the more expensive seed beads that you see in craft stores that are made in Japan or the Czech Republic, they usually make really high quality beads that are very even in size. But when it comes to these kinds of beads that you find in the dollar store, you'll find that you'll get really uneven beads. So I'll pick some gold up for you so I can show you what I mean. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that clearly, but let me also just separate out all the different beads. So basically you can see that they're all different sizes. So you've got this squarish one, and then you've got like a couple thinner ones, then you've got another squarish one, then you got this really long one, and then you got like another squarish one, and then you've got this in between, and then a couple more thin ones. So the sizing is really uneven, but when it comes to loom work, it's very important to have even sizes of beads so that the loom work and the bracelet will not be wonky and it will look better because everything is more even. So you're gonna have to go through and judge by eye and pick out even looking beads. And my trick for that is I like to go for more squarish beads. So like this or this and this one right there. So these three, they will have a more even effect. So let me pick some white beads so I can show you another example and maybe it'll show up a little clearer. Okay, so if you look, these white beads are very uneven as well. You have these two beads that are kind of similar, and then you've got like a really thin one right here, and then a couple more similar, and then like really, really thin one right there, and another thin one right there. So I would not use any of the thin ones, and even this one is a bit borderline, but I would be okay with the more square ones, like these ones. But yeah, so as you're going through, and you're gonna see me doing this throughout the video, I'm gonna be taking a while to really try to pick out beads that are more even so that the bracelet will look better. So here are the beads that match this diagram. I've really tried to pick out more square shaped beads so that they will be somewhat even in width, like across. So that's what I have really tried to do, and that's what I'm going to try to do as I move further up on the pattern. So let's just start weaving. And to start, what I'm going to do is show you how to put your beads on for the first time. So to put the first beads on, the first thing you're going to do is to put your thread under all of your warps. So this thread is under. As you can see, it's under. And then with the beads you've picked up, you're going to slide it down. And that knot is going to prevent your beads from sliding all the way out. So next, you're going to put one bead in between each of the spaces. So I'm just going to do that. The first row is going to be very hard because the spacing hasn't been established yet. But once you get going with a few rows, the spacing will match the beads and it's going to be a lot easier. So push your finger up like what I'm doing. Push it up like this. I'm pushing it up with my finger, and then I am moving the thread to line up in between each of the beads like this. I'm just using my needle to line them up. Whoops. You won't have to do this every time, just the first time while you're trying to establish the spacing with these beads. And then you're going to take your needle and you're going to go over all of the threads. So you're going to go on top. So take this needle and go on the other side of the thread. So this thread is under, right? So you're just going to go over and through the whole of the beads. So go over, over, and later on you might be able to do a few at a time, but in the beginning I want to be careful. I want to make sure that this needle is going over all of that thread and through each of the beads. And so I just try to keep my needle up and keep it up and scrape the top of my bead like that. Just keep it up. And then you're going to pull your needle across. And try not to get it tangled. So you're going to pull your needle across and pull the thread across. And you've done your first row. So I wouldn't worry right now that the spacing is not perfect yet. It's going to get better once you do another row. So let's do another row. And you can use this needle to just kind of align them like that. So they kind of straighten up. Okay. So now let's take a look at the next row. And it might be helpful if you just mark your rows. So you're done with the first row, so I'm just going to mark that. And then we'll go to the second row. So you're just going to slide the second row on top of the first row and put the beads in between the left pieces of thread, and you're just going to pull it until there are no more gaps in between the beads, and the warp threads are fitting nicely to the size of the beads. And so when you do that, after that, you're going to again go over and thread on top to go back to the left side. So put your needle through the top and go over the different warp threads one at a time. Just put everything over like that. And make sure to adjust it so that there aren't any more gaps. Then pass your thread under again. And we're going to do the third row. So now I have my third row. So now I'm going to slide my third row in. And as you can see, it's a lot easier now to put each bead into a gap because we've tightened this horizontal thread to the point where this weft is now the same, or more or less close to the same spacing as the beads. And again, I'm going to pass my needle over. Oops. And use my needle to slide them and align them. So it'll be the same process. Put the needle under, put the beads, push the beads up, then put the needle over. So let me just continue, and also remember to keep marking your pattern so that you don't get confused, and also picking out the correct size of beads. So you want them to be even, and for me it's easier to see if they're even if the beads are a bit squarish in shape. And also, if you want to know how to go faster, you can remember that because this is just a mirror image on the left and on the right side. Once you've put in half, then you just have to go back in the same order as the first beads that you put in. And also later on, when you look at the pattern, when you get to this point, you know that it's just going to repeat upwards until you get back to these shapes. So then you can just look backwards and just copy so that you don't have to keep individually looking at the rows to figure out what beads to put on next. But of course, it's okay to keep referring to this sheet as you go along, just to make sure you're not making any mistakes. So as an example of this trick I just told you, I'm about to start the fourth row, and the fourth row starts with gold and 4 whites, and then gold. And gold is in the middle, so then I know that I just need to put on, without looking at this, I know that I need to put on 4 whites because I'm looking at my needle and I can see that it's 4 whites. It's 4 whites and then a gold. So now I know that on the other side I have to put 4 whites and a gold. So put that under, push it up through all the little slots, and to secure it into place, put your needle through the beads from the right side, going over each of the vertical strings. Okay, so go under again, and we'll do row 5. So row 5 is gold, and then 3 whites, and then a gold, and then another white. And this white is in the middle, so I just need to then look backwards. So now in my needle I can see, okay, I gotta put a gold, 3 whites, and another gold. So that's what I'm gonna do. And as you can see, all my beads are on the more squarish side, and that is hopefully resulting in a bit more even looking bracelet. So keep going, and once you run out of thread, I'll show you how to add more thread. Alright, so I wanted to pause and show you something really quickly. So as you can see, we are at the center of this diamond design. So from here, the pattern is just going to repeat in reverse. So I'm at where the white dot is in the middle. So from now on, it's just going to repeat backwards here, 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 here. So if you want, you can just refer back to your design and just look at the beads that are there, if that will make it easier, rather than referring to this sheet of paper and making a mark every single time. But it's up to you. I just wanted to offer you a little bit of a tip as to another way for you to create this pattern.